Welcome to the Papa-Doo Podcast. Papa-Doo! Welcome back, everybody, to the Papa-Doo Podcast. My name is Joey Nato. Usually Crypt is here with me, but he's on vacation. He had to take a break after the whole YouTube Cypher 3 thing. Actually, I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it just was going on vacation with his family and stuff like that. So it's just me today. Isn't that great? Let me start off by adjusting my mic a little bit here. And this is history. What you are about to witness is history for anybody that watches or listens to the Papa-Doo Podcast. We always started off by popping a do. You know, I even got the green lights set up in the back. You can see that on the video on Spotify. That was not a speako, you know, like a typo. It's not a speako. I meant to say that. But anyways, here we go. Let's pop a do. Boom. That is crisp. And, you know, I have to say, this isn't the best decision just because it's 7 o'clock in the morning right now when I'm recording this. So, and I didn't even have a plan going into this. So this might be a train wreck or it might be the greatest thing that's ever happened in the history of media. So, YouTube Cypher 3, we could talk about that. We could talk about the, we could talk a little bit about the KSI versus RiceGum thing going on in the YouTube scene and my opinions in the last episode about which songs I would rather listen to and how some things may have contradicted each other, why some people may have messaged me saying, I've lost all respect for you, I'm writing you off completely, which I think is a bit much, but, you know, let's start on a positive note right here. The positive note is by far YouTube Cypher Volume 3, all right? And I think it would be cool if I go through every single verse and talk about exactly what I thought was good about it and what I thought was bad about it. Yeah, I'm gonna be completely honest about what I think about all this, okay? So we could get right into it, right? Maybe one more sip. Oh yes, I taste the citrus. And if you are sipping a Mountain Dew along with me during this podcast, then I'm sure you taste the citrus too. So, YouTube Cypher Volume 3 has been in the works since, November 2019, I believe, is when I made the instrumental for it. So, that's how long I can say it's been in the works, because nothing can really be done until there is an instrumental made for it. I had my good friend J2B here with me. You may have seen him if you follow me in Crypt stuff. You may have seen him in my behind the scenes video for when we were working on Crypt's album. J2B was around helping out and stuff like that. So shouts to him for the moral support while I made the instrumental. And Crypt basically told me he wanted something like YouTube Cypher Volume 2. So I just did that, except I just tried to take it up a notch, use some samples that I had. I even used a sample for that beat from What Lola Wants, Lola Gets from Damn Yankees. So yeah, I definitely branched out a little bit with that one. But let's not talk too much about the beat here. This is not Joey Nato's channel. This is the Papa-Doo Podcast, all right? So can you tell I'm a little, I don't really know what to say too much, but I'm just speak from the heart, man. That's all I can really do. And this probably be a little bit shorter episode, possibly, since it's just me and there's no Crypt around. But anyways, Dax had the first verse on the Cypher. And Dax's first two bars get me really hyped up, right? And the first time I heard this Cypher, like all the other Cyphers, Crypt basically likes to play the Cypher over the phone for me and then stop after every verse and say, so what'd you think of that? So what'd you think of that? What'd you think of that? And a lot of times I can't really give a firm answer because I can't really make out the words over the phone, but the man is just so damn excited to show it that he just wants to know, which is cool. That's become tradition, and I love traditions, so I'm cool with that. But when I heard it in person for the first time, Dax's verse, I was like, Okay. I love the Crypt addressing. He said back from the dead, back from the dead, straight from the Crypt, from the studio, straight from the Crypt, or he says something along those lines. And I thought that was cool. I thought that was appropriate. You know, he kind of that was like the final touch of, the whole Crypt situation. Dak's Crypt situation is done with, at least the negative side of it. They're turning a new leaf now. It's a new chapter of their relationship and stuff like that, which is dope. So that was cool. Good way to start it off for anybody that was in tune with all that going on, listening in. That was a little Easter egg, all right? So then I think the punchlines in his verse were okay. I think the numbers thing that he did, that's 2 times 3. That's 6 plus. Yeah, I 4 plus 2, 2 times 3, something like that. He was basically adding up to 6, talking about Toronto, and he was doing like this flip thing, this reversible thing, and I thought that was cool too. And I didn't catch that immediately, but I thought that was a good part of Dax's verse. And then Dax hit maybe one of the lower points of the cypher for me. Definitely one of the lower points of the cypher for me is when he tried to do this flow that was super fast to a point where nothing was really comprehensible. And thank God that all the artists send the lyrics to Crypt to have the subtitles. Actually, I think some of them he might have had to make out for himself because I don't think everybody sent their lyrics on time. But anyways, yeah, when I'm reading along with the lyrics, though, with the video, it makes it a little better when I'm listening to Dax's fast part while reading the lyrics. Like, okay, I could kind of make out things now, but maybe my mind's tricking me to think that because I could read the lyrics and see them right in my face. But anyways, but then after the fast part, he bounces back with a really dope flow. And, a flow could be dope and not be fast. Okay. Let's just put that out there right now. So yeah, I thought that was I thought overall his verse was energy wise, it was a great way to start the verse. Like he has like so much energy in his voice, and it was great to hear since, people say he didn't give it his all in past songs that he featured with Crypt and, people in the YouTube music scene in general. So that kind of flipped the script a little bit there. And I thought that was a good way to kick things off. So the second artist that was up was King Blitz, who I heard for the first time on Blind Sight was on episode 1 of episode 1. Blind Sight was on YouTube Cypher 1. And when Blind Sight dropped his project that I was on, I tuned in, and he had a song with King Blitz up there. And so I knew King Blitz was pretty dope. And I heard his Poppin' Cypher verse too, I believe. So I knew King Blitz was pretty underrated. And I thought his verse, I think he had little jabs in his verse, like when it came to like, because I look at King Blitz as a punchline rapper. Like, I feel like he has dope punchlines. First of all, his voice is one of the better rap voices in the scene. I think so. His voice just sounds so damn cool when he's rapping. So, like, the swagger was there and everything like that. The confidence, the swag, everything was there. But, like, none of the punchlines crazy landed for me, you know what I mean? And I think it's because he had little jab punchlines here and there, and there were no haymakers because he didn't give himself enough time to lead up to like that crazy punchline. Like the craziest punchlines happen when you're rapping. For anybody interested in hearing about this and my thoughts on this, is that it happens when you almost tell a story leading up to the punchline. Or you really make the listener wait for it to come in like a 4-bar sequence or 4 lines. Like the 3 lines preceding it are all leading up to like the big payoff in that punchline. And I think that's where the best punchlines happen. And I think like for example, we'll get to this later, but Futuristic's verse has a great example of that when he says the nut and much line. Like there was a long build up to that line. And then it just landed really well, and you could see it because I've watched a lot of reactions, man. I've watched a lot of reactions to this video. People that like everybody, like big and small, on the platform. So yeah, and a lot of people freak out on that one line, and I'm like, oh, I get why. I see the psychology behind it, you know. So but yeah, that was kind of the thing about King Blitz's verse. Is he didn't have, like, he had little punchlines here and there, and some of them weren't really received well by some people listening to him because they were just like little jabs, saying things like, in order to beat me, you need to provide me the instrumental. What else did he say? The banana peel. Like, it's certain things that I think a lot of people have heard before, but that's by no means... That was by no means the best representation of what King Blitz could do, okay? Because King Blitz is dope. I stand by that for sure. I just don't think that was the best representation of what he could do. And maybe that's because of the beat. You know what I mean? Maybe the beat didn't inspire the artist as much because I know for a fact, I'm not gonna say who the people are. But, man, there were some big names that said yes, they were going to be on this. And when I say big names, I mean big names on the platform. People that people have definitely been asking for. And then some people ducked out because of the instrumental. So it's like, or maybe, all right, I'm exaggerating. One person. One person stuck out that ducked out because of the instrumental. Like, they just couldn't get with it. And, you know, the instrumental is like a boom bap type of beat. Like, it has kind of an old school vibe to it. That's why I was really, you know, desperate to throw in like that little trap part in parts of the beat where the beat breaks down and switches up. But that, I still think it's appropriate for a cypher though. I think a cypher should have like that gritty New York style, like home of hip hop type style to it. I think that's how it should be. You know what I mean? I don't think it should sound like a radio hit or something the baby would go off of, or something like that, you know. I don't think that's the best beat for a cypher, where people are supposed to showcase lyrical ability. You know what I mean? So that's my take on that, and that leads up to the next rapper, who is Ashton Larold, who I was actually on a cypher with this group called Double Lyrical. They had like the Double Lyrical 2020 Spotify cypher. It was called something like that, but me and Ashton were up there. But we had never talked until after the cypher. But anyways, he basically, his verse was a little statement, mainly for his fans. So, and that's one thing I could respect. There was no real punchlines or crazy bars, in my opinion, in his verse. I think his voice is good. I think it has good aggression in it. But his verse was basically to his fans saying, look, I could still do the rap stuff, okay? I know I've been making more commercial songs. I've been making more hits. I've been singing a little bit more, you know, doing stuff like that. And, you know, being selfish for a second, that's what I enjoy doing too. That's what I would prefer to do. But it doesn't mean that I can't still get in this bag, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that I can't rap still or anything like that. I didn't abandon the art. I just, you know, making my business moves or making my creative moves or whatever the motive may be. But, you know, if you want to really level up in this game, you got to be able to make hits and not just be able to spit bars and have good lyrics. There's so many good rappers out there, like so many good rappers. How the hell are you going to stand out if you can't make unique hits? You know what I mean? So that was kind of his message, and it's something I agree with 100%. It does make me wonder, though, if he's been out of that element so long that maybe he was a little rusty in terms of, like, coming with, like, crazy, you know, bars and punchlines and stuff. I'm a punchline rapper, so I'm really biased about stuff like that. So that's kind of my take on that for Ashton's verse. Echo was next, and I mentioned this in my reaction video to the Cypher, but the first time I ever heard Echo, I wasn't really impressed, and it was over his a Marvel rap, believe it or not, and I'm a huge fan of Marvel, so I'm surprised I wasn't, floored by it, but maybe it's because I thought it was kind of gimmicky, kind of a reach, but hey, welcome to YouTube, welcome to rap in general. If you're not trying to get attention, go home, So I think I was just being a hater at the time. But anyways, Echo drops his verse, and it's weird because I don't understand a lot of the references he's saying on his verse. But for some reason, he has one of my favorite verses on the Cypher. And Echo really got my attention when he started the tour with Chris Webby. Chris Webby's from my state, Connecticut. So that's kind of like a big deal to me. So, yeah. But, there's certain things that Echo says that, so I don't know. Like, he was like, when I'm on tour, I'm holding up convenience stores. And then there's, the little gun click or the gun cock sound with the scream, the woman screaming. And I'm like, it sounds cool. What does that mean, though? What? I don't know. There was a lot of things with that. He was like, think you're indestructible. I'll break your ish like Tesla windows. A lot of people seem to react to that line, flip out for that line. And maybe it was just a great delivery, or maybe I just don't understand. Do Teslas, is that a marketing thing for Teslas? Do they say we're indestructible? The indestructible car? Is it something like that? Was there something viral about Tesla windows breaking, or I don't know. And I feel kind of slow and behind the curve a little bit by not being able to keep up with some of these bars, because a lot of people, the way they're reacting to them is they were really landing. But I don't know. I think his fast part was cool. It wasn't too crazy. It was very comprehensible. And it was before the trap part of the beat, before the beat switched up. And usually for most of the rappers on the Cypher, where the beat switched up is where they start to rap fast. He didn't do that. He did it before that part. So it kind of stood out to me a little bit extra. And he just has a good rap voice, you know what I mean? It's a little deep for me, but at the same time, he got the conviction in his voice. And he puts that little squeak in there when he's like stuff like that kind of makes you have a character on a song, you know what I mean? So I think Echo did a dope job on it, regardless if I understood most of the punchlines or not. The Disney Plus line was kind of cool though. I'm all your favorite things wrapped into one. That was cool. Oh, and the bar and raised it line. That went over my head at first, but that is one of the harder bars in the Cypher. Named it the bar and raised it. I had a son, named it the bar and raised it. Something like that, raising the bar, a son, raising your son. There was a lot wrapped into that. That was pretty dope. So, yeah. So that's what I thought about Echo's verse. Crank Lucas was next. Okay. So, Crank Lucas's verse, when I heard it even over the phone, I thought it was pretty dope. And it was a steady flow the whole time. There was no fast parts, no switch-ups really in the flow that much. But I'm cool with that. If it's a 16-bar verse, I don't need crazy switch-ups. 16 bars is enough time to rock out one flow if it's good enough, So Crank Lucas is somebody that fans of Dame Drops, a YouTuber that I used to work with a lot more, was begging Dame Drops to work with him and stuff like that. And it was kind of an insult to me, to be honest, because I was Dame Drops' producer for some songs we were working on. And people were like, yo, you need to work with Crank Lucas. Who's this guy Joey? Work with Crank Lucas, man. That would be crazy. Do this with Crank Lucas instead. So that name definitely stuck in my mind. But then I was like, man, who's this guy Crank Lucas, man? Who's trying to take my shine that I don't have? Because this is a time where before I had 200 subscribers, I think. But anyways, I looked him up and I was like, man, he's actually pretty good. So Yeah, so that was that's how I found out about Crank Lucas, pretty much. And his verse was dope on this, man. He had like the confidence and everything. Like he used his type of vocabulary. I saw a lot of people were like referring to him as a smart rapper, maybe because of the type of things he says. But there is something controversial going on, because one of the last things he says in his verse is, I rap isosceles circles around people. And people were like, isosceles circles are not a thing, which goes over my head. I don't know. I saw somebody saying isosceles triangles is a thing. Isosceles circles isn't a thing. I don't know. So, yeah, but I didn't realize all that until, the comments and reactions started rolling in for the Cypher. So I didn't really pay much attention to that. And it didn't like ruin the verse for me at all or anything like that. I understood like the PG plays. I didn't understand the PG raised until people broke it down. Like that's the area around DC. I was like, okay, that's dope. I understood the PG plays because, I'm a big basketball fan and stuff like that. So I understood that line. What else did he say in his one of the weaker lines he said, though, is can I say this? I got your girl seeing, okay? I'm going to just say that. Seeing so long, she's still squirt. Wait. All right, you know what? I'm going to just say it, all right? I got your chick coming so long that she's still squirting when I kick her out. Like, that line is kind of corny to me, okay? So that line was, like, one of the weaker parts of the verse for me. But overall, I thought it was dope. I thought it was dope how he used the word ubiquitous in his, like, first 4-bar scheme and, like, stuff like that. Like, I don't know. He just had, like, a lot of confidence in the way he delivered his verse, and I liked it. It was a break from the norm of a lot of people trying to do a little bit of a quicker flow, because there were 3 out of the first 5 people definitely had a fast part in their verses or a quicker part in their verses. So yeah, that was nice to see. And then moving on to the 6th artist, man, I got to pull out my phone to remember who was on this damn Cypher, man. And I've heard this Cypher so much that it's pretty sad that I can't remember it. But maybe my brain has just become numb to the damn Cypher at this point because I've heard it so much. Let's see. Come on. Dilemma! Dilemma was next. So Dilemma is from the reaction channel Script Work, or should I say YouTube channel Script Work. I don't like to put people in a box, creators in a box, by saying they're a reaction channel. I mean, I guess some people are and wear it proudly, but, I think you should always feel as a creator that you can always spread your wings and try different things. That's a bar right there. That's a bar right there. I'm just kidding. Just playing. But Dilemma was on this Cypher, and I thought he sounded the most comfortable on this beat, with exception to 100 Kufi. I don't know. Okay, maybe I got to retract that statement a little bit, because a lot of people sounded comfortable on this beat. But that was my first thought that came out when I heard this verse over the phone from Dilemma. I was like, yo, he sounds super comfortable on this beat. Like, this sounds like a match made in heaven type thing. So, yeah. That's what I will say. He sounded really comfortable on the beat. And the minor thing was cool. Don't attempt to film in a dark room. That line was pretty decent. Some things I didn't understand, like suit up like Ken Nugent. And then somebody told me that had something to do with Georgia, or because he's from Georgia or lives in Georgia, and that's like a Georgia thing. See, this is the thing. Like, if you're on a Cypher, you kind of got to get out of that local mindset, all right? Like, and that's a mistake I used to make. I used to say, like, certain things about, like, local businesses in Connecticut and stuff like that. And I was really stubborn about this. People would tell me, yo, that you shouldn't mention, like, things that people globally or even nationally won't understand because they won't relate to it. And they're going to be like, what the hell is this person talking about? And once you say something that people don't really understand, they kind of tend to tune you out a lot of times, especially if they're listening to you for the first time. So, and I was really stubborn about that. And I was like, nah, man, I stay true to where I'm from. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. I don't know why I was talking like that, but hey. Anyways, that was kind of my problem. And that's kind of what I'm sensing here for this part of the Lemons verse. So it was, I had no idea what the hell he was talking about because I've only been to Georgia a few times and I had no idea what Ken Nugent was. That didn't support anything. So yeah, that's something that if any artists are listening or anybody, just relevance in your bars I think is really important. So it's something people can relate to when they hear it and understand the reference of what you're saying. I think that's really important. And I think that's kind of was a little bit of a missed opportunity on Dilemma's verse. A lot of people rocked with his verse and thought it was one of the best on the Cypher. And, arguably definitely is. I think you can make a case for every single person on the Cypher. And I'm going to get to more of that specifically in a moment because there's somebody that definitely stuck out in particular on the Cypher. And, I can't wait to talk about that. But, yeah, so Dilemma's verse overall sounded comfortable on the beat, sounded like it suited him well. Just some of the things he said I didn't quite understand. There's some references I definitely should have understood, like when he was saying tiptoeing, like Bow Wow posing. So that was a thing going on around the internet of people saying, there was a thing going on around the internet showing constant pictures of Bow Wow always being on his tippy toes in pictures, I guess to make himself look taller or something like that. So that was dope. I just didn't happen to understand that reference, but I could see how that's something that definitely a lot of people would be able to understand. So just because I didn't catch it, I'm not going to discredit that. I think that's dope. And I know when I should know things in pop culture. And a lot of times I don't. I'm a little out of tune with a lot of things in pop culture. That's one great thing about getting more involved in YouTube and doing reaction videos. That's definitely helped me out a lot because I've been able to, watch things that I usually wouldn't, that a lot of people do. But it's good to be in tune with things, you know what I mean? Unless you really are against certain things. But I'm not against Bow Wow's tiptoeing in pictures. So, yeah. Anyways, hopefully you get what I'm saying there. So that's my take on Dilemma's verse. I thought it was definitely a good verse. Definitely suited the instrumental well. Definitely sounded in pocket on that song. So I thought that was cool. Okay. So Carly X was next. And she's just fire. Like she sounds so like she sounds really aggressive. What she's saying is a little aggressive. It would have been nice to hear her maybe speak a little bit less about like killing people and stuff like that. Maybe, rappers will always say, well, I meant it in a lyrical way and stuff like that. But that didn't sound like that was the case on this one. So that's not really my vibe per se. But anyways, I think she definitely has one of my favorite verses on the Cypher. Just her delivery, mainly for her delivery. Like some of the bars are cool. Like the Hornet line is what stuck out the most. Like leave you purple and blue. Like you play for the Hornets, I'm bugging. Like that's a pretty gruesome line right there. But I don't know. It's because it's a basketball reference. It stuck out to me a lot more. But hey, her delivery was fire, and I think it's always cool to see like she's one of the people on the Cypher that she definitely had the least amount of following on this Cypher. But now, people turn their heads because she delivered on this one. So that's the difference between a lot of artists that want to get on the Cyphers and think they're ready for it and stuff like that. But man, if you really aren't seasoned yet, you're going to make yourself look stupid in front of a lot of people. Now, a lot of people, there's some people that didn't like Carly X's verse, and that's okay too, to each his own. But hey, I think she killed it. I think her enunciation is great. I think her delivery is great. I think her tone is not monotone whatsoever. She just sounds very seasoned as a recording artist, and she just sounds like somebody that could perform too, just because she has so much affliction in her voice. I think that's the word I'm trying to say. But she could project her voice very strong, and I definitely respect that, especially when it's coming from a female, because a lot of female artists, or just females in general, they don't have a lot of bass in their voice, and that's kind of a cheat code that guys can use when they rap to make themselves sound more confident. You know what I mean? But a female has to push it a little bit more, and I think that's dope that she got that down packed. She seems like she's really young, so that's great. So there's a lot more room for her to grow from there. So the potential right there is crazy. I think Carly X was such a dope addition to this cypher. So, and I don't know how the hell Crypt found her. I have no idea. I don't know how he finds a lot of these artists that he finds out of the woodwork, but he did, and she was dope. I remember when he called me to show me the cypher for the first time, and he was like, yeah, so there's this girl Carly X. She's fire. I was like, how did you find this person? But anyways, she did her thing. Now, the next person. I got to readjust a little bit here. Matter of fact, I'm even going to take another sip before I talk about this next one. The next person on this cypher is Pharrell the Earthworm, okay? So here we go. Honesty time. I've been honest this whole time. I'm not going to stop now. When I first heard this verse, part of me wanted to ask Crypt to reconsider having him on the cypher. You know what I mean? I thought he sounded extremely, extremely out of place on this. And this is from my first listen, okay? I was kind of just like, what the hell is this? Like, he sounds like he's going at such a slow pace. He's not talking about anything near close to what these other artists are talking about. He almost sounds like spoken word type thing. I was like, he has a cool voice, but man, what does he know what a cypher is? Does he know how to approach these type of things? Like, this does not sound good to me. And this is he's somebody that was just touring nationwide. Nationwide is on your side. This is not sponsored by Nationwide. He was touring nationwide with Mac Lethal, okay? So clearly he has a support system. He has a fan base and stuff like that. So there is people that definitely rock with him. And I was, he's been living out of his van for like 4 years now or something like that. So, he's kind of different with how he moves. You know what I mean? I understand it. I definitely understand that from an economic standpoint. You could save a lot of money living out of a car or a van or something like that. So I get that. But man, when I heard this, I was like, yo, I didn't say it to Crypt though. I usually don't have much say in who gets on the ciphers or not. But then again, I don't really speak up. Maybe if I do speak up, I could ruin some lives. You know what I mean? So maybe I should try that. I'm just kidding. I don't want to ruin lives or opportunities for people, okay? Calm down in that Spotify comment section. I can see it now, okay? Anyways, when I was mixing the song, though, and I made little changes to the beat, like I made the little conscious switch up during the middle of his verse just to make it a little bit more calm to match his tone and stuff like that. I started to really listen to what he was saying, man. And I was like, yo, I'm starting to like this verse. I'm starting to like Pharrell the Earthworm's verse because he's like, screw you. This is me. Everybody else is rapping like, cook the wind, the ton of a. He's like, all right, that's cool. Hey, I'm going to just still do me, Chilling with my family. This makes sense to me. I don't tweet much. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, yo, how is he doing this? Like, why am I starting to shift towards liking this now? And I checked out some of his original music after the cypher, by the way, and it's actually pretty decent, and I think you guys should check it out. It might surprise you. I feel like his flow is he could flow. I'll say that right now. He doesn't flow much on the YouTube Cypher 3. Per se, he took more of like a spoken word approach with it, but he could flow, all right? So I would definitely suggest to check out Pharaoh the Earthworm. And yeah, this was a turning point for me. The Cypher came out, and I kind of knew when the Cypher would come out that people would like, there would definitely be some comments about Pharaoh the Earthworm because he stands out like a sticks out like a sore thumb on this Cypher. And then I was kind of just like, oh boy, here it comes. And then there was a reaction channel I was watching. And this is where I realized this is where I realized how different people's perspectives are from my own, and how I can't bait what my belief is and what my first impressions are is not going to be everyone else's. No matter how firm I believe in something, that doesn't make it the truth. That doesn't make it a fact. It doesn't make it a universal known thing, okay? I was watching this reactor, and this dude was super strict with his ratings, and he was not budging. He was keeping it 100 to the T. He had some biased opinions, but whatever. But he was keeping it 100 about who he liked, who he didn't like, why he didn't like them. And then Pharaoh's part came on, and it was like, I felt like I was watching a car crash in slow motion. I was like, oh, I skipped it. I skipped the part where he was watching it because I was like, I don't even want to know what he thinks about Pharaoh the Earthworm if he said this about all these other artists. Like, this is going to get ugly. And I just didn't want to cringe. And then, so I go to the beginning of Samad's part, and before he even does that, he says, whoa, whoa, whoa. Who was that? Who was that last person? Yo, who was that? Hold on, let me rewind that back. And then he listened again. He was like, yo, this is my favorite one so far. This is my favorite verse so far. And he wasn't trolling either, yo. He was like being dead serious. Like, this isn't a dude that, like, you could really tell by his aura, like, he's really serious and stuff like that. So basically, this was a moment for me where I realized, yo, my opinion, all it is my opinion, okay? And there is an audience for every single artist. As long as there's something decent about your music and there's some kind of appeal to it and sonically it sounds good, you got a shot. Because somebody out there is going to like it. Somebody's going to rock with you. And there's just so many people in this world. And that was just like a moment for me. And this always happens. Like, I was so, when I was on the first YouTube Cypher, I was so stuck in my own mind. I was like, man, this is my moment. Like, I'm going to stand out so far from all these other artists up here. Like, man, this is going to be light work, yo. Let me just throw a verse together, put it out there, because I know I'm just, like, crazy good. And then when the Cypher came out and I heard everybody on it, I was like, yo, where does all this talent come from? Like, who are these people? that was another wake-up call for me, where I could just stop being cocky for no reason. Like, yeah, okay, you're good. That's cool. That's cool, buddy. There's other people out there that are good too, really good, okay? So how about you just work on getting better rather than thinking you're the hottest thing out, all right? And everybody's going to have their own opinion on things, you know? So that was such a learning lesson, and this kind of reinforced that with Pharaoh the Earthworm's verse and how people were reacting to it, and I thought that was dope as hell, and I don't know anything, okay? That's basically what I got out of that. So, moving on. Samad Savage's verse. A lot of people like this verse because it has a lot going on in it. There's a lot of switch ups. There's a lot of beat chops that he did with it. There's a lot of singing mixed with rapping. There's a lot going on in it. And that kind of makes it stand out definitely in the Cypher. As far as bars and what he's saying, like, he has a message, like a good message that he's saying, especially in the first 6 to 8 bars or so. And I think that's my favorite part of the verse, probably because of what he's talking about. Sometimes though, I think he needs to pick his spots a little bit better for where he decides to put the punchlines, like the ones that are supposed to be like and make somebody say, "Oh, did he just say that?" Like, I feel like his verse, he put those parts in the fast rapping parts of his verse, and that to me isn't it's a lot of people aren't gonna catch what you're saying, even if the subtitles are on the screen. It's kind of hard to tell what you're saying, and it just won't have the same effect with the punchlines. But in terms of creativity and how he approached his verse, definitely the most creative verse on the Cypher. The next most creative one would probably be Crypt's because of all the craziness and the harmonies going on in his verse and stuff like that. But not saying all that stuff is really, is not needed on a Cypher to make you stand out. You know what I mean? But anyways, yeah, I thought, in short, what I like the most about Samad Savage's verse is that he just he dumped all the creativity out on this one, and I said that in another video. But yeah, he basically just gave you like, okay, I could sing, I could rap fast, I like to talk about things that matter in the world. Yeah, let me just throw it all in there. Let me just throw all of that in there, show them the whole package. And I think that's a smart thing to do on a Cypher, because when you're like, oh, I want to check this person out now, you're going to listen. You're going to be like, okay, I know this person could sing, so I'll be expecting that. I know this person could rap fast, so I'll be expecting that. I know he likes to talk about certain topics. Okay, I'll be expecting that. And then you know what to expect. And that's how you make a fan. Because if you're rapping on the Cypher and then someone goes to check out your music and it's all singing, you might turn that person off. You know what I mean? Some people are open-minded, luckily, in the world. There is people like that, but some people just know what they want. Some people like Royce the 5'9". Some people like Jeremiah more than Royce the 5'9". It's all about preference. That's basically what I have to say about that. The next person that was up was 100 Kufis, okay? So 100 Kufis, another rapper that just sounded really comfortable on this beat. I think the one reactor I heard say, yo, this dude sounds like he should be in Slaughterhouse. I was like, yo, that's a compliment right there for 100 Kufis. So shout outs to him for that. Again, a verse that he had more of a rhyme scheme heavy verse. Like the way he was flowing was kind of the highlight of it. In terms of punchlines, still kind of, in this whole Cypher, mostly was kind of lacking like the crazy haymaker punchlines, in my opinion. So that is something I wish I heard a little bit more from him on this one. But in terms of the flow, his flow was like glove in hand and glove fit. Like it was perfect for the beat. And he even threw in some like fast rap in there, and I don't think I even knew 100 Kufis could do that, but I haven't heard much of his stuff, so I can't really say that. But, well, I could say that. I didn't know. I didn't know he could do the fast rap in there. Some people, that kind of turned them off for some reason to it, but I thought he did it. He nailed every word. Every word was really clear with what he was saying, so I thought it was dope. And I think his rhyme schemes were good. They were solid. Just wish there was a little bit more punchlines in his verse, but he sounded really like he belonged on that verse. I don't really have too much more to say about his verse other than that I could really think of. If there were more standout lines to me, that probably would give me a little bit more ammunition to talk about things, but yeah. So then after 100 Kufis came Futuristic, right? Right? Let me make sure again. I'm pretty sure Futuristic came next, which was dope to see because Futuristic, at the time I'm recording this, he actually has a song #1 on iTunes right now for his new album. So shout outs to Futuristic for that. And he's just been showing love to a lot of people in the YouTube music community a lot lately. He wants to get more involved with it, which is crazy to me. But hey, that's dope. So shouts to him. And his verse was definitely more the style that I like. Like he had punchlines that sounded like punchlines. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always on. You could tell by the way I switch it up. Light switch on, like double entendres like that. Dope. He said, when you ask what I'm doing, my response is nothing much. But he had like girl-related bars leading up to that. Dope. Sweeter than bowls of Haagen-Dazs. I don't know what Haagen-Dazs are, but I'm assuming it's something sweet. And who the hell says Haagen-Dazs in a song on a verse? Dope. Like, I don't know. I don't think I'm even playing a bias to this guy because I don't even really, to be honest, I haven't heard even much of his music. I just know who he is because he's been around and he's made moves for so long. Okay, so I'm just aware of who this guy is. But he just, I know he's always had the clever lines. Anytime I have heard him, they're just those witty, clever punchlines that land when he says them. And that is kind of what sums up his verse there. Like, it was dope to me. His flow was a little strange to me in certain parts. Like, even when I got the verse, it sounded almost slightly slow or fast, and trying to get his verse on beat when it was sent to me, because I was told to move it up or move it back. I forget which one it was, but to shift it so it was more on time. And I don't know what happened. I think the file just got moved when Crypt first received it or something like that. But anyways, that's my only gripe with the verse. And I thought his verse was fire. He just sounded good on there. You know, he was showcasing his sheesh ad-lib, all those type of things. It had a lot of character, and I think he killed it. So there you go. That's my thoughts on Futuristic's verse. Now on to Mercury's verse. Mercury's verse, when it came to mixing, that was the most nightmarish one to do. I'm pretty sure. Well, Samad's was pretty bad too, because Samad had 15 different tracks that I had to mix and make them sound all synchronized and stuff like that. So that was a little tough. But Mercury's verse would definitely be a close second, if not the most frustrating, because the stems were kind of thrown in. The stems were sent to me like randomly, and stems are like individual parts of the verse. Most rappers don't rap their whole verse all in one take. At least not a lot of artists I work with. And I don't think that's how you get the best take anyway. It's usually pieces of the verses, and then they're pieced together, and that's what you hear on a final recording of a song. If that just ruined the magic of what you think most music artists can do and what it sounds like, then I'm sorry to burst your bubble, and ruin the fairy tale for you. But that's the truth, all right? I feel like I just showed somebody how to do a magic trick or something like that, and they're like, oh, that's how it's done? It's not magical. But, yeah, anyways, this verse I had to manually put on time because it was just kind of sent willy-nilly. It is what it is. There was 2 different versions of the verse. He ended up going with the second version of his verse for what he wanted. So that was sent over, and it sounded way better than the first one that was sent. So that was all good. And he has a lot of people really like his verse and say, hands down, Mercury's killed it. I'm not crazy impressed with Mercury's verse. His flow and the fast stuff seemed like, I was listening to it, I was like, why are you going so fast, yo? Like, you have the ability to have some of the dopest punchlines on this cypher out of all these artists. Like, you may take the cake when it comes to like good punchlines and like one-liners. So why are you taking this approach? You know what I mean? I think I left my heater on. Sorry if you heard that background noise. So it's like, why? I don't know. I don't know. I think it's because people know it's a Crypt YouTube Cypher, and they just assume Crypt is going to be rapping fast and stuff like that. And then people are just going to want to cater and prefer the fast flow over anything else. And like I said, the Pharaoh the Earthworm thing proves that is a myth busted, okay? That is not the case. There is an audience for every type of rapper, especially when it gets the reach that this one did, since it was on trending for a day or two. So a lot of people heard it. A lot of people that have never heard a YouTube rapper in their life heard this damn cypher, okay? And that's what these are supposed to do. But anyways, yeah, so I was like, I don't know, man. Maybe it was just the fast flow that kind of turned me off to Mercury's verse. I like how we started off with the premise in the beginning. Like, I was 15. I didn't know what to do. Da-da-da-da. Now look at me. I like all that. You know, still, you know, talking about like a lot of realism in his verses and what's true to his life and stuff like that. But a lot of the punchlines, maybe because he was rapping fast, I didn't catch. If there was any crazy ones that I missed, and I know he said something ABC, XYZ, and every time I heard that in a reaction video, people are like, "Oh, like, what am I missing with his verse?" I don't know. I really don't know. Video wise, he had a face mask on during the video, and any rappers, I don't care who you are, I never understood why you have a face mask on, especially if you're inside while you're rapping. But hey, you know, that's my take on it. Now people are gonna say I hate Mercules. People are gonna say I hate Mercules and Rice and KSI and whatever. That's not the case, okay? I'm just being honest. So yeah. But Mercules' first 4 bars, I think it was, of his verse was fire, all right? Mainly because of his delivery. I was 15, dun dun dun, in a frenzy, ha! And then it had like the ha ad-libs in there, and it had the aggression, like it had the right energy, it had the right impact. And his last 2, the way he flowed on the last 2 bars leading into Crypt's verse was fire too. Like, all that was dope. So it just tied everything together really well. Sorry about my breathing there, but yeah, it just tied everything together really well. But everything, the meat and potatoes of the verse in the middle, it confused me. Okay, so then we get to Crypt's verse, which was he had originally 4 completely different bars for the beginning of his verse, but then like some people told him, I think his family members told him, like, he sounded cocky and arrogant in those 4 bars, so he reworded them. And then he sent me back something that I thought sounded really corny. I was like, yo, come on, like, you're Crypt, like, do this. And then he fixed up the words, and it ended up being what he stuck with. And I was like, all right, fire, cool. So Crypt's verse is really good on this cypher. The harmonies that he first has in the beginning when he first starts singing, like within the first 4 to 8 bars or something like that, I didn't like them at all. When the cypher finally came out and I listened to it all, you know, together with every other verse and how it all meshed, and then his harmonies came in during his verse, I was like, all right, it sounds okay. Okay, it sounds okay. Obviously he has the shot at the YouTuber Knox Hill on there, which is funny because they're both rapper reacts, is like what they put both in their titles. But anyways, he only did that because he heard a freestyle from Knox Hill where Knox Hill was blatantly dissing Crypt. So Crypt was like, okay, let me diss him back. Like that, and that's that. That's the story. If you want to know the story, that's the story. Pretty simple. So yeah. Other than that, when Crypt does his Sycamore lines, that was fire to me. That was dope. And you know, me and Crypt are friends, but when it comes to like listening to each other's music and the type of music that we like really cater to, we're not like huge. You know, maybe he disagrees with this. I don't think he does though. But we're not our first choices of music to listen to. You know what I mean? Like, he's not like, let me listen to some Joey Nato while I'm driving around, and I'm not like, let me listen to some Crypt while I'm driving around. But we both know, we're respectable in our own rights and stuff like that. But, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, Crypt had my favorite verse. He had the best verse. You know what I mean? That's not going to happen because that's not how I feel about it. But his verse was really damn good on his Cypher. And I saw a lot of people say that this is Crypt's best Cypher verse. Don't know about that. I think you can make a case for the first two Cyphers with his verse, especially the first one when he like rapped everybody's name in there. I think that was the first time it was done on one of these Cyphers, at least. So that was pretty fire how he did that. And yeah. But anyways, aside from that, I think his first Cypher verse is probably his best one. But it has some nostalgic factor to it, so that could be tying into it. But anyways, yeah. Crypt has like the little beat breaks and the knock, 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 stop, 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 caught, like all that tied in really well. And then the chop, chop, chop. Like, he had a lot of energy and versatility in his verse. Almost on the level of Samad's. Samad's kind of stuck out more because he really like went like singy with his. But you could, when it comes to levels of creativity and like mixing it up in their verses, Samad and Crypt are they're like hand in hand. I think that's what I would say about it. So it had a lot of creativity in it, and I thought it was a great setup for the conclusion of No Life Shack. No Life Shack, I'm glad everybody wasn't like, oh, man, this is how he raps, man. Man, he doesn't have any credibility to talk about. He is a music fan. He is a music enthusiast, okay? People like No Life Shack because he is you and me, but he's the little kid inside that freaks out when he hears music, okay? And most people aren't able to express that feeling and that emotion, and he puts it on display in such an entertaining and enjoyable way and with a smile on his face, and he's not afraid to say when something's blatantly trash, and that is what makes No Life Shack great, okay? It's the relatability. And he's a man, he's just chilling in his living room, like doing this. Like, this is how we listen to music. So that's dope. And I'm glad people didn't jump down his throat because, he doesn't really rap, okay? And it was pretty obvious there. Like, even the sound quality of his verse was the worst out of everybody's. But I'll tell you what was a bar, though. What was a bar was when he said, I got $1 million, and they said it was luck. Now I'm almost at 2, and they saying that's tough. Like, that's hard. He wrote that, too. So, hey, that was dope. That was dope right there. So, No Life Shack definitely brought like a fun element to this cypher with his verse, and he stayed on beat and everything like that. So I mean, the fundamentals were done right on this, and I think it was the perfect conclusion. What I would have wanted to hear more, but I guess I can't really expect it because he doesn't have the confidence when he's in front of a microphone because he doesn't do it. This is the first time he's ever done it. Is more of the yelling, you know what I mean? I would have wanted to hear more energy from him, but he kind of went with the calmer voice tones that he has. So, but that was just would have been like the little cherry on top and everything like that, but still got the whipped cream and everything like that. Pause. Okay. This is why I shouldn't do podcasts by myself. So I start saying some dumb stuff. But anyways, yeah. So now, that is pretty much my conclusion about my thoughts about every single damn verse on the YouTube Cypher Volume 3. Want to give a big thank you. This podcast isn't over yet, but want to give a big thank you to everybody that supported it, shared it, commented on it, liked it, watched it, listened to it, all those things. It's fire, all right? It's dope to see, and we might be overlooking this now. I know a lot of artists out there are definitely overlooking this. But this is rare, okay? In the music industry, this is rare for this to be this. Then this is Crypt's what's it? How do I say this? Generosity, or Crypt's willingness to bring unity. That's probably the best way to put it. This is it in a nutshell here, and it keeps getting overlooked. Like, do you remember the vibes when YouTube Cypher Volume 1 came out? Everybody hit up each other immediately to collab. Like, yo, I didn't know you could do this. Let's collab on that. Yo, what? Oh, yeah. I heard your verse too. Blah, 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 blah. And it was dope. And the fans, supporters, whatever, listeners, they loved it. And why not? There's a bunch of talent coming together and working together. And it was just good vibes. You know what I mean? So, you're always going to have your crybabies and stuff like that. But that does not outweigh the positive impact that this has, okay? And has for the last 3 ciphers, all right? And I know Crypt is upset about the little sour ones that stuck out and had something to say that was negative about the cipher. But, hey, man, all I could really say is focus on the positive, because there's way, way, way more positive that comes out of this than negative, all right? I know negativity, it's like when you're looking through your comments on a video or on a post or whatever. If there's that one person, there could be 99 people that say fire, 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 fire. And then there's that one person that says trash. And you're going to be like, oh, man. I'm not trash. Wait, am I really trash? Like, is that really how? Damn, man. Like, this ruined my whole day. And it sucks. I don't know why that is. I really don't know. Because the 99% should make a bigger impact than the 1%. But hey, that's kind of just a sad thing about the life of a creator, I guess. So before I wrap things up, I do want to address the last video that was put out and the last episode that was put out for the Papadoo podcast, where me and Crypt had a little fun. I definitely had fun talking about KSI's songs against RiceGum songs. And there was a lot of how should I say this? I don't want to call people ignorant, but I do want to say a lot of people made emotional comments. A lot of people got emotional about particularly my take on things when it came down to this, because my camera died right before this, but that's perfect. All right. Fresh start for this take here. So one thing I can agree with is I was inconsistent with how I was judging or picking which song I would like better. Because for some songs I would say, oh, well, KSI only had one verse on this and RiceGum did a whole song. So even though that's the better song from KSI, this is what I will go with. I'll go with RiceGum. Now, there's something you have to understand, okay? Just like a lot of KSI fans, there's a lot of KSI fans out there, are biased towards KSI because they're fans of KSI and not RiceGum, okay? So that's the first thing. I'm kind of biased with RiceGum, okay? Because I didn't know who a YouTuber was, pretty much. I couldn't name one YouTuber except for Smosh until 2017 or so, right when RiceGum was blowing up, because my friend Dame Drops put me on to the whole RiceGum situation and what was going on with that. So he was the first YouTuber that I looked at and was like, okay, I'm going to start making videos. Wow, my videos suck. Let me look at somebody who's on top right now and see what they do. And guess who I studied in terms of like the editing and their style and pace of videos and stuff like that? Yeah, RiceGum. Okay, so I didn't even know who KSI was until like a year or two after that. So that's the first thing to keep in mind right there, okay? Second, this is what I'll say. And first of all, if I was really biased towards RiceGum, like, I would have made sure RiceGum got more votes than KSI when we were doing the songs thing. They ended up being even, all right? And there is, like, RiceGum's energy in songs is something that I admire. I think it's dope. For some reason, I like the whole cocky showing off the mansion, certain things, all that stuff. I know it's gimmicky, all right? I know it's gimmicky, but it is what I like and I find entertaining. I don't know why. So, with that being said, KSI's songs, especially the ones he's been putting out recently, are just, they're fire, okay? Like, Down Like That, I think there was a point in this video or the last podcast where I said Down Like That, I wouldn't pick over, I don't know which RiceGum song it was, but Down Like That is one of the better songs that came out last year, okay? So that was a point where I should have probably said, if we were talking about which song was better, then I think Down Like That is better than, technically speaking, it's probably better than any RiceGum song, but that doesn't mean I like it better than every RiceGum song. All right? So that's kind of the thing to understand here. KSI has a lot of, like, I don't know, he has a lot of energy, a little bit more dark vibes sometimes in his music. Recently, it's been a little more commercial, more happy, and that's why I chose those songs more when it came down to that. But, man, I don't know. Like, there's something that I like about RiceGum's music that I don't think is that bad. Yeah, he has a stuffy voice, and he sounds like he has a stuffy nose when he raps. That's also how he talks, too. But I don't know. I can't explain it. But I think what would have made this whole thing better and more fair and more consistent when me and Crypt were doing this whole which song is better is if I stayed more on course with which song is better rather than which, going back and forth like, oh, well, this verse is better than his verse, so I'm going to go with that. It's like there was so much inconsistencies. It's kind of hard to explain, but I think you get what I'm saying. So I should have just been like cut and dry. I don't care if KSI did one verse on it. I don't care if he did no verses on it. If it's his song, is this song better than RiceGum's song? Period. And I think if I would have did that, KSI probably would have got more votes. Probably. But I don't think it's, but the way like KSI was reacting in his video, you got to admit, when he was reacting to RiceGum songs and comparing them, it was really unfair the way he was doing it. He was even playing RiceGum's music quieter than his own music. And KSI is extremely smart, yo. He is very smart. You don't get to that point. RiceGum too. RiceGum's very smart too. These guys are not dummies. They know what they're doing. They know how to get attention. They know how to make people tick, okay? And he knew how to get the edge with his listeners by doing stuff like that, all right? Now, you might be completely honest when you say, look, I just don't like RiceGum's music. I think KSI is just way better. Like, okay, that's your opinion. That's cool. Let's trace back to what I was talking about earlier about Pharaoh the Earthworm, okay? You might be like, there's no way that 100 Kufis is, or that Pharaoh the Earthworm is better than 100 Kufis. What the hell are you talking about? I saw it with my own eyes that there are reactors that were watching the Cypher that said otherwise. So just because it's your opinion doesn't mean it's a universal truth. So yeah, this might breed even more hate to me. I don't really care. I love everybody that supports this, and you know I just like to keep it 100 on here. I like to be honest. That you guys deserve my honesty, and honestly in life, yeah, the truth is gonna come out eventually anyway. All right, and so it's always better to just say it to begin with. Always tell the truth so you don't have to remember your lies. And I have a bad memory, so that kind of really applies to me. All right, I think that pretty much wraps it up. If there's any businesses out there that want to hit us up for any sponsorship opportunities, advertising, just hit up popadewpodcast@gmail.com. That's POPADEW podcast@gmail.com. Young boy can't spell. Sorry. Had to break it down. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Crypt will be back for the next one, I'm pretty sure. Unless he says, screw you, Joe, I don't want to do this podcast with you anymore, which I would not be able to blame him. Anyways, appreciate you guys listening. And that pretty much wraps this up. And until next time, guys, make sure to pop a do. Did I do that right?
Pop a do!